Hey everybody, Karen Anderson here with Aortic for our weekend review. And if you don't know what that is an opportunity where I review the week and the week that just passed, all of our posts that we put up on Facebook and our website, giving you guys an opportunity to kind of banter with me, give me your opinion, type in, say hi, whatever. And before we get started, I need you to click like. Click the like button, click the subscribe, click that bell so you're notified every time we go live because look, September is right around the corner. And if you weren't aware, it is Aortic Disease Awareness Month. It's a whole month that we dedicate to teaching you and educating you about aortic disease, all different elements as well, which is easy for us now because we're in the process of finishing up our second patient guide called Aortic Disease, the Patient Guide. So we basically take you through what is an aorta all the way through the different disease elements, medication, genetics, emotional, mental health, support, resources, etc. But the reason why I need you to click the bell is because we have some incredible live events and we're still scheduling more. So we have always favored Dr. Udelman, cardiothoracic surgeon out of Maimonides in Brooklyn, New York. He's going to be joining us. Gareth Owens, he is my counterpart over at Aortic Dissection Awareness UK and Ireland. He's coming on with us in September to talk all about his event that's happening on September 19th and the 23rd in Dublin. So there's one in Edinburgh, Scotland, and another one in Dublin, Ireland. We have a new doctor being interviewed by us, Dr. Jorge Mascaro, and he is with the Medical College of Wisconsin. He is the head of their aortic center as well as their director of heart and lung transplant. He actually kind of sits on the corner. Don't ask me all the states because I don't need to understand the map, but I know that he kind of is the catcher's mitt for patients that come from 4 different states, go to his hospital. We have Tara Cohen. We love her from Lawrence Hope Medical ID Jewelry, doing some big giveaways again in September. And we have our bingo event. In addition, we have a new show beginning, and that is going to be Arts, Crafts, and Diane. So it's going to be our aortic artist, Diane Bishop, who's from Aortic Health Unlimited. She is going to be joining us. She's always been an ambassador with us, but now she's going to have her own show. And Diane is extremely, extremely entertaining, but she's going to take us through monthly different arts and crafts that she does that are really easy, simple, but really great items that you can give away as gifts. You can keep for yourself, whatever. But the first one is going to be a lot of fun. We just did a run through and I really love what I was able to create with her. So that's just a handful. That's just a sampling of some of the things we have going on for September. Also, our posts are all being composed right now, edited, updated by our medical students and our resident, Duke and Adam and Sam. They're all busy working right now behind the scenes to put together some magic for you. We will be meeting together on September 15th. I think that's a Sunday. 19, 18, 76. Yeah, September 15th in Brooklyn, New York to join our friends at Aortic Bridge and walk across the Brooklyn Bridge. This is a free event, so you can just sign up so you can hold your t-shirt, reserve your t-shirt. And after we walk across the bridge, which begins at 11 a.m., we then all meet up at a restaurant for some food, snack, and for some time to spend together. So lots of things that we're going to be adding and putting on the calendar. I hope to have that calendar up for all of you this week. And now we're going to get started. Let's get started a little bit with the week in review. And then I have so many fun things I just feel like talking about. So Monday, it was a movement for movement Monday last week. Time to move. Let's talk about something here. Typically, these movement for movement Mondays, they actually talk about how we can feel motivated to just get up and move our body. But I wanted to talk about something that was a little bit more realistic for many of you, and that's how to stay motivated when you're exhausted. Okay? Because a lot of us are tired because of the heat. We're tired because our medication. We're tired because we're tired. So how do you stay motivated to move when you're just feeling tired and exhausted? So here's some tips. Got some great ideas here. Break your tasks into smaller chunks. Don't create this massive list for yourself because if you're tired, you're not going to get it done because you're just going to think it's overwhelming. And then you're just going to end up sitting and watching TV and then you're not moving and your watch is squawking at you. It's time to get up and move. So don't do that. Smaller chunks. Divide the tasks into manageable, almost bite-sized pieces to help reduce the feeling of being overwhelmed. prioritize these tasks. Okay, so it might require writing a to-do list every single day, but try to focus on the most critical tasks that have to be done that day. Things that if you put off till tomorrow, you know they're really never going to get done. More than just the saying, but you really got to get a certain task done today. So make sure that that goes to the top, and then you can rewrite your to-do list for the next day based on the things you didn't get done. Use the Pomodoro technique. I have never heard of this before. This was a new thing for me, but it basically says work on whatever it is you have to work on in 25-minute increments. Then you get a 5-minute break. So I guess it's kind of like interval training. If you're going to be maybe training for like a 5K or a 10K, we're going with realistic numbers here. I'm not going to mention marathons, but something realistic. You wanted to run or jog. You might run for 5 minutes and then walk for 5 minutes. And it's interval training. Same thing when it comes to managing tasks when you're feeling a little exhausted. Set a timer if you have to, and just know that I'm just going to do this for 25 and then I am done and I am taking a break. Then you know you're going to get your tasks done. And every time you get it done, you reward yourself with a little break, little breaky poo. I like that. And again, that leads to taking more breaks because breaks are important when you're feeling exhausted. Your body is clearly feeling something and you need to pay attention to it. You need to make it a priority. Taking your regular breaks might actually help recharge your energy. See, it's a win-win situation. Now, while you're working on these tasks, it's important to stay hydrated and stay energized. So you really want to make sure that you drink water and you eat nutritious snacks to maintain your energy. So this is a great time to put a handful of almonds in a baggie or whatever little snack you like. When you're doing this Pomodoro technique, munch on your snacks, drinking lots of water when you're doing that for 25 minutes, whatever the task is, and then really truly enjoy that 5-minute break, right? Maybe in the 5 minutes, you do the next suggestion, which is to get some fresh air. Take a little walk outside. That fresh air, as the temperatures are cooling, might actually help boost that energy and make you feel even more motivated to come in and finish your tasks. Practice deep breathing exercises. So deep breathing exercises will help you reduce any kind of stress and increase your focus on your tasks at hand. And just deep breathing is good for everyone in general anyway. Now, it's also very important, like I said in the beginning, to set clear goals. Remind yourself of your objective, because I know for me, I go in to do my task and then something comes across the computer screen and now I'm down the rabbit hole. I have to stay focused. So I have to have a clear goal in mind that this is what I'm doing. And then I have to remember to finish that goal. Like talking to you right now, I just remembered I put laundry in the washing machine. So I'm just writing the word dryer for myself. So I remembered to go put it in the dryer. That's how bad it can be. You guys know what I'm talking about. Minimize your distractions. So eliminate or limit non-essential tasks and notifications, even notifications that come across your computer. Just try to maybe not put the TV on, maybe just have music, because the TV can be very distracting, but just try to minimize that. Make sure you're also getting enough sleep. You want to try to aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night, because that's really going to help you maintain your focus during the day. And remember, it's very essential to listen to your body and take care of yourself when you're exhausted. If possible, take a nap. Yes, I like naps. And just take that rest when needed. So we asked everybody how they stayed motivated. We got a variety of answers, but a lot of times it's some of the stuff that was on the list, such as taking those breaks and taking a walk and coming back to that to-do list and maneuvering that to-do list for the next day, etc. So that was your movement for movement, but more of a motivation Monday.
Well done. Hello,
Thank you.
Tom. Hello, Christina.
Hello, Tom and Christina. I have to take a note because that's how bad my brain is. I'll forget. So you know what? We're going to talk about something before I go to Topic Tuesday, because I know it's going to be medical related. I mentioned to you when we were sound checking. Photosensitivity. I swear I'm going to create a blog about this. So I've been on doxycycline. I got sick like June 28th with what has been to date, other than having pneumonia, my worst upper respiratory infection I have ever had. I mean, I was in a ball crunched up trying to cough up stuff that it's probably still some in me, but I tore muscles. I thought I broke a rib. I've been CT scanned and x-rayed, no broken ribs. My lungs are fine. I just tore muscles. It's been really, really bad. So I went on to a second course of doxycycline. I'm limited on the antibiotics I can take for allergies. But I I don't know if you guys, if it's translating well, but can you see the redness in my hands and my forearms? So even as I'm sitting here talking to you and using my hands, the blood flow's going and it's starting to burn again. This is hideousness. This is being outside or sitting in a car or driving my car and having the sun come in the window, even though I slather on, sunscreen, and it just has formed little teeny like blisters. It looks like it's completely sunburned and it hurts. And so when you try to take a shower, it hurts. Like you can only take a cold shower because it hurts. And then when you come out, when you're drying, you feel like someone's stinging you with like little needles full of freezing cold acid. That's what it feels like. It's also on my nose. Josh says you can't really tell. But when I look at myself, I see this big white ring here when I wore my glasses, and my nose is extremely red. This is under 2 layers of makeup, by the way, but my hands hurt so bad. The only finger that really wasn't impacted was my ring finger because my ring is on it, but every other knuckle. It's like this summer's just a wash. It just was a bad summer. It was a bad summer from a physical perspective. And, the old me would have just sat here and cried about it and had a pity party. But I'm just almost at the point of trying to laugh because I just can't believe what a heinous summer it's been for me. But, it's just one. There'll be hopefully next summer, right? And now I get to put on comfy clothes in the fall. I'm just waiting patiently for the weather to change because I am done. I'm done. I actually am done. Like I can't sit in the sun. And now I'm going to go on prednisone. So you really can't be in the sun. So yeah, I'm housebound, indoor bound, I should say. But even driving in the car, just the heat when I get in the car, it hurts really, really badly. Went to the post office today and it's misery. So I'm done. And when I go to Scotland in September, I'm hoping it's like 45 or 50 degrees. And then that'll feel great. It also itches. It itches, but then it hurts. Anyway, so that's what I just want to tell you about photosensitivity. So be careful. I don't think it's the pharmacist's job to have to tell you that it exists. I would just always assume that an antibiotic has the potential to greatly impact you if it comes to sunshine. Just assume it. I go and I hate grapefruit juice, so it doesn't matter. But I always assume never to take grapefruit juice if I'm on an antibiotic because I just assume that it's going to reduce the effectiveness. And now forever for the rest of my life, I will assume that the sun is going to impact me if I'm on an antibiotic because this is bad. So now before I came on, I was looking up how to get like 100 or 110 SPF. For the moments I have to be outside right now because there is no telling how long this is going to last. And I get to be on prednisone, which actually should reduce any remaining infection, inflammation, should make my ribs feel better. It's that drug that we hate that we love. It's not good for you, but it makes you feel like a super person. But that's my rant. Okay. I feel better now. Let's
So
move on to
I've
topic
noticed
Tuesday.
something as you've been gesturing around,
Yeah.
and the white nail polish disappears. So it looks
Oh,
like
in the white
and the white background,
It looks like I just have finger nubs.
finger
I have
nubs.
nubbies. I do have polish. No nubbies. No I polish. Well, it's on my toes too, but already my toes would look like I have little toelets. They're like little toesicles. They never grew. Um, I think my toes are like, they're not even as big as my pinky. They're like half the size. They're really tiny, but that's funny. Thanks for pointing that out. All right, topic Tuesday. So this one was written by Adam. He wants um, to share, compare, and contrast some different surgical approaches for the treatment of an acute type A aortic dissection. So now we're back into serious mode. Okay, so first we're going to do a quick anatomy review. And remember that a type A dissection, it's anything that involves the ascending aorta, which really means that part that travels upward from the heart. That is the only ascending part because it's going up. It doesn't matter how far down the aorta the dissection involves for it to be considered a part A. If it involves that area, it's A. It can go all the way down in the iliac. it's still considered A. If it doesn't involve the ascending, then it's B. Okay, so it's ascending, ascending, B. We got that from Dr. Udelman. So let's take a look again at a very big picture of the aorta, right? So this is where it would meet up around the heart, where your valve would be. See, that kind of looks like a valve. You have a branch coming off here to the right coronary and one to the left coronary artery. This is the ascending. It's coming up and out from the heart. So any dissection that occurs here, that makes it a type A. And then you've got your 3 branches that come off of the arch, brachiocephalic artery. And then that branches off into the right subclavian artery and the right common carotid. Then you have the left common carotid artery here, and then the left subclavian. So it looks like the right side has an extra little branch. Then you've got the arch. So those are coming off of the actual arch. Then you have the descending aorta, okay? This is still considered thoracic, but then it eventually hits an area that becomes the abdominal. That leads into iliac towards your legs, okay? We are talking about type A, which means we're talking about anything that started here, okay, in the ascending. So I just showed you this. The aorta has many important branches that come off of the arch and supplies the brain. These include the I love these words Adam uses, especially when I don't practice them ahead of time. Innominate artery. Which supplies the right arm and the right side of the brain, the left common carotid, which supplies the left side of the brain, and the left subclavian, which also supplies blood to the left brain and the left arm. So as you can imagine, treatment of a type A dissection will depend heavily on how far the disease aortic tissue travels and whether or not these head vessels are actually included in that type A. That really does impact the treatment plan because you're talking about something that is a lot easier if it doesn't versus something that gets more complex if it does. So a link was included to a great paper that was published by, Adam, you got to pick things that have easier words for me to pronounce. Dr. Dufendock? Sounds good to me. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. And some colleagues. And basically, this article details some great details about different methods that are used to repair an acute type A aortic dissection with highly educational images. These are pretty cool, right? So right there in the ascending only is a hemiarch. These are so detailed, right? Total arch would be up here, where it would deal with 2 of those branches. And this is called total arch with frozen elephant trunk, okay? I like his word firstly. I don't know that I've ever heard that word before, firstly, but it's creative, right? So if a dissection only includes the ascending aorta and stops before it affects the arch vessels that supply the blood to the brain, a standard hemiarch repair can be done. And this will involve resecting the diseased tissue up to the great vessels, which would be in the arch, and replacing it with a carefully sized piece of Dacron graft. How many of you have had that? Finger nubs. How many of you have had that? A lot of you, because I've met a lot of you online. So a lot of us have had that. Actually, I'm not even sure if that's considered more common, but I know a lot of you have had this. The big thing that you need to remember when it comes to a hemiarch is that the arch vessels are left intact. Nobody's touching anything that has to do with the arch. I know that's what I personally had. The arch does not get touched, okay? Cool, look at that. Beveled anastomosis of the 2 grafts. So this is just so interesting. So a lot of things going on here. A lot of sutures of that graft. The ends are called the anastomosis. It's where the natural tissue is attached to the graft, just so you know what anastomosis means. But when patients develop more extensive dissections, which actually travel up to the arch and include the great vessels, a total arch replacement is indicated. And here is an example of that. Okay, so we've got a lot of different things going. Look at all this stuff. There's too much going on. Let me explain everything. The arch vessels can be disconnected from the aorta that is diseased, and then they get reconnected to a branched graft system. We've seen examples of these. Many of the doctors that I interview, including Dr. Caterino from last week, held up a piece of graft that had branches, whether it was two or it was three, that lead up to the brain and to the sides of the body. And that was for somebody who needed a total arch replacement because the dissection involved beyond just the ascending. So for a total arch replacement, the body is cooled down to 18 degrees Celsius to repair, to actually decrease the risk of any organ failure or organ damage as the blood supply from the aorta is cut off during the repair, which is interesting because I was cooled down too. So now I'm not really sure what happened to me, but I do remember reading that. And I know a lot of people get freaked out when they read that, but you get warmed back up. You're sleeping. You don't know that you got cooled down. It's just I think it's a cool thing, pardon the pun, to read about what happened to my body. Did I find it was cool almost 10 years ago? No, I totally freaked out. I had to keep reading the name on the medical record to be like, they're talking about me. I think we only think it's terrible because we watch shows like Grey's Anatomy or whatever, where it just seems like it's so bad. It's just part of their routine. It's part of what they have to do. You have to cool the body down to 18 degrees to remove the risk of any organ damage, right, from a lack of blood supply. All right. Look at all this is going on. It's a lot of scissors. It's pretty cool. A lot of clamping going on. I swear one of these days when I go to these medical conferences, I want to don a scrub and I want to wear gloves and I want to work on like pig valves. And I can't wait. I digress. All right. There's a lot of words here. I'm going to try to explain what's going on. This is a trifurcate graft, which probably means it goes out into three vessels, held tight with over arterial cannula with clamps. So it is clamp. Distal aortic anastomosis. This is where the graft is actually being attached to our tissue, to our actual tissue. There's your right carotid, your right subclavian, your left carotid. So you can see for this total arch replacement, it involved two vessels here. So they had an anastomosis because it went still into our natural tissue of the left carotid and into the left subclavian. And look, they just do that, like hand stitch it. It's amazing to me. I'm fascinated. Finally, for patients whose aortic dissections extend beyond the arch and travel to the descending thoracic aorta, an elephant trunk technique may be used. And I'm thinking that's what this was because we have so many different things that are involved, unless there's another picture and I'm behind. No, I could be behind. That was the second one we described. Okay. Here, in addition to the total arch replacement, as described above, the surgeon may deploy a stented graft inside part of your aorta that travels downwards behind the organs of the chest. Because you remember the aorta, it looks like a candy cane, right? But that's not in front of the heart and it's not to the side of the heart. It goes behind the heart, closer to your back. But it will go behind the organs of the chest and the abdomen, and it's difficult to otherwise reach and remove from the body. So it's a lot easier to just deploy something than to have to actually go in and try to do surgery. And they don't go through your back. There is a technique, I think people in the community call it a shark bite. Well, they'll go around kind of sort of near the center of the chest, underneath the side around the rib cages towards the back, but don't quote me on that because I'm not a doctor. I'm just trying to remember what I've heard. But this is different from the ascending aorta and the arch, where the diseased aorta everyone can easily access or cut out. The use of an elephant trunk actually does two things. So one, it helps to stabilize the dissected or dilated part of your distal aorta arch and the descending arch. And it helps facilitate a future secondary open or endovascular intervention to treat the rest of your aorta because it helps stabilize that and hold that open. So yeah, here it is. This is the picture where we were just talking about. We do have what you would have had in the total arch if it was just ascending arch and some of the branches. But here they've deployed that stent down into the part of the descending aorta that is dissected. This is a stent graft in the dissected aorta. So this is deployed in. This is attached to your aorta. This is put inside the aorta because you can see it's dissected. And this is opening up the true lumen or the true area of that vessel where the blood is actually flowing. It's not opening up the fake one or the false. It's opening up the true so that the blood flow is flowing more easily. Okay. Trifurcatebrachiocephalic graft. That's just doing a lot of things. We're going to read about that, I'm sure, in a moment. Conventional elephant trunk sewn into the distal aorta. So here is braided silk tether attached to distally in, I don't know how to pronounce that. It could be invaginated or it could be invaginated. I'm not sure. Can't wait to do pronunciation on Google with that word. Proximal end of aortic graft for retrieval. I have no idea how to pronounce half this stuff. I'm working really hard here. I'm trying. But this is totally different. So this isn't a stent. This looks like it's a graft that has been put inside. So let's learn about this one. Oh, he talked about that earlier, it looks like. But this, look how it's been deployed. They put something inside here. And that is, I'm just amazed. I need Adam to come on here and do some of these and just explain all these pictures to you and say the words correctly. But that's all he has for this week. Topic is a little more advanced than what he usually puts. No, really? Yes, really, very. But I think seeing the images makes it a little bit easier to understand and slowly start thinking about the anatomy of our aorta. No wonder they made it its own organ. It's got so many different potential disease elements that can happen in the different zones, whether it's ascending or arch or descending or abdominal, different ways of, you could technically diagnose a little bit differently depending on the chest and the location, if it's abdomen or chest, and you definitely have different treatment options. So I just think it's so interesting, but check that out. Look at that mess. That's no longer a mess right there. Right? That's a pretty cool picture. Don't forget, anybody who's near Brooklyn, New York, as I mentioned earlier, we are doing the Aortic bridge walk across the Brooklyn Bridge, Sunday, September 15th, 11 a.m. at Camden Plaza in Brooklyn, New York. There's more information on aorticbridge.org, and you will also find that by the end of this week in our event section on our website, although I believe it is already posted on our event section on Facebook. It is free to register. You register in time, you will receive a free t-shirt. I can't remember what the colors are this year. Every year the t-shirt's different, and it's just a really wonderful, great time to be around a lot of medical staff and a lot of community members and their caregivers just coming together, walking around with their Think Aorta signs, and then coming together for lunch. So hopefully the weather doesn't rain. Last year was a washout, and hopefully it's also not 1,000,000 degrees because that's no fun either. But yeah, hopefully you'll join us. And thank you, Adam, for an extremely high-level post with some words I can't pronounce, but I found it very informative. I hope you did too. That's your Topic Tuesday. Don't tell me how to pronounce that word, Josh. I know you.
I'm leaving it alone. You did great.
Was I close? Well, I had to be at a 50-50 shot.
50-50 shot.
Hey, that leads us to this past Thursday. Really cool Thursday. And I can't wait, Josh, for you to tell us all about how this may work in the future. But we had a community member who's also a therapist come on board to do our Therapeutic Thursday live, which is a first for us. We never really had that before. John Quick, that is his name. And this past Thursday, community members had an opportunity to be on No Faces, Just Voices, and kind of talk about a variety of different mental health issues that we feel as patients or caregivers, or we're assuming people feel, and let him, as not only somebody who's been there, who can walk the walk, but now he can talk the talk and help us kind of process these thoughts and maybe reframe a little bit, which is really nice. I'm going to read a little bit about his story here, but in 2006, he had a type A dissection, had his open heart surgery, also replaced his aortic valve, and obviously a partially rebuilt aorta. Shortly after, he dissected with a type B dissection. So his type A sounds like it stopped in the ascending, and then later on it dissected some more, running from the top of the arch to the bifurcation in the legs, which would be right about the area where it goes into the iliacs. The dissection right now, that B, is medically managed. So he takes blood pressure medications and he takes beta blockers, and he's also been taking anticoagulation medicine since the incident. He found this to be very profoundly life-changing, having some physical, emotional, and financial implications. For example, overnight, his income basically dropped by 70%. I think a lot of us can say that happened, especially when we went on any type of disability. He was supporting a very young family at the time. Severe illness basically caused a tsunami of issues, not just related to physical health, but and far from it actually. But as he became stronger, he changed directions to a field he's always been interested in, that was counseling. So right now he is a qualified cognitive behavioral therapist and hypnotherapist, registered with the GHR and GHSC in the UK. He specializes in trauma, loss, anxiety, depression, and PTSD, and just general physical rehabilitation, amongst other issues. He really feels he can help with a much more holistic approach, perhaps less medically attended life issues that accompany this condition. I'm sure we can all relate to those, but also nearly being 18 years on the mend from his dissection. He knows a fair bit about being on blood thinners, managing blood pressure, and what his body tells him. And he's learned a lot about living with aortic disease. Frankly, he says most of this begins and ends with the fears that we have when it comes to this condition, and how they play out with, you know, the multiple fears, such as fear of death, fear of anxiety, fears of reoccurrence that's going to happen again, and the day-to-day demands of this condition, a damage confidence in your life. I think we can all relate. Energy levels, sleep issues, fitness, exercise, body issues, sexual dysfunction, cognitive changes, including concentration and obviously short-term memory. And is in his experience with clients in all walks of life, not just people here, fear tends to sit at the root of most of the challenges that we face, but it gets hidden and it gets disguised in many coping strategies. So John really has a way of kind of reframing and helping us navigate those waters a little bit. So while he's not going to give you medical advice, he will share with you his experiences, and maybe you can take that information and share that with your physician, and it might help create a different medical plan for you, or at least enlighten your doctor that you're very well aware of other situations that have happened to other people, which is always a good thing. So Joshua, is this going to happen again?
Oh, we're looking at this Thursday.
Wonderful.
Again at noon. And the goal here, we see a gap between post-dissection or post-diagnosis and mental health. And, you know, whether it's an emergency surgery or it's a planned surgery, there's just no approach. It's seemingly no approach.
Yeah.
So we're trying to bridge that gap, but also we're compounding this with a phenomenon that we see inside of the survivor groups, where everybody is talking to each other, and it's from a patient to another patient. So although he can help with, you know, the kind of the fog of war, should it be called, of getting your head back online, making sure you're paying attention to your stress levels and anxiety, paying attention to them, right? Voicing them.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I've noticed inside of the support groups is when somebody expresses what their symptom of anxiety is, several other people inside of the group are like, oh, that's like me, right?
Yeah.
And so giving voice to that anxiety will hopefully create a mindful space for people to pay attention to that anxiety and not feed it. And so, you know,
Right.
Ideally, we're going to be helping everybody understand anxiety just a little bit more through the highest levels, you know, the 3,000 foot, you know, view of anxiety or post-traumatic stress, and then managing other emotions, you know. Happiness doesn't last forever, just like sadness doesn't last forever. But for some of the negative emotions, it's easy to feed those. It's easy to indulge in sadness. But if you get really happy, you're eventually just going to get tired and fall asleep. But sadness doesn't seem to do that. Sadness turns into one bucket of ice cream into another.
Yeah, that's true. No, you're right. Sadness can turn into a spiral down a deep, dark hole, and many other detrimental feelings. It can turn into a physical manifestation too. Happiness doesn't usually create pain in our body, unless you laugh really hard. But sadness could.
Yeah, and so
Really
and so, you know, that's what we're trying to attack here,
Yep.
If we can get people talking more freely about their emotional states, hopefully that
Hmm.
will resonate with some of the other people in the support group and get them to open up.
I love that.
Yeah, so being heard is so powerful when it comes to therapy. Being able to voice what is happening to you can help you understand it.
Hmm.
It's an incredible thing.
And I'll tell you one of the things from my own perspective, regardless if it's been about this disease or Crohn's disease or the death of my father, it's very hard to find the right people to talk to because a lot of people don't know what to say. So what they will say is, "Oh, I know because I've been living with this for X amount of years," or "I know because this happened to me." And it's not that one's trying to trump the other person, but if you tell somebody, "I'm sad because, it's my parents' birthday and they died and it's, only been a couple years," and someone says, "Well, I know, I lost my parent 30 years ago." Okay, in my mind, well, then I'm dumb. Why did I even say anything? That's horrible. I can't imagine 30 years. Really, what I want somebody to say sometimes is, I can imagine, and it must be really rough today. And can I do anything? Tell me something that, like, what was your favorite birthday with your dad? Or try to get me to talk about something positive, or just say, "I'm so sorry. It has to be very challenging." Don't trump my situation and now make it be about you. Tell me how bad you've had it. I mean, it's valid, but today is Monday. It's about me. You tell me about you tomorrow on Tuesday. Schedule an appointment. That's how I feel. I feel that way in arguing. If I go to somebody and I want to say I'm not really happy about this, and then they're like, "Yeah, but you," I'm like, You have to schedule that appointment to tell me about me because right now it's what I'm sharing." And so when you're meeting in a support group, it's great to hear other people say, "Yes, I've experienced that too." It's great to have other people say, "How are you handling it? What is your doctor doing with you?" And get people to talk about it. And the more we talk about it, the more normal it just becomes. Um, because it is. It's just part of us living, and you're going to live. This is your body. This is the element you live in. And I think the more you talk about it, for new people especially, the more you make this part of, this is just part of what it's going to be like for you to live, then the more normal it becomes. And the more you have an opportunity to go through all the varying emotions. Because I'll tell you what, it doesn't matter if it's been 18 years or 10 years, there will always come a time where it comes back around and you get stumped and you get stopped in your tracks for a minute. So um, the sooner you can develop the tools and the comfort to share, uh, I think the better off everybody is, those listening and those sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, last week Timmy was very good about sharing about her tapping techniques.
Yeah.
And when you find somebody who's open about some of their, the trials that they've gone through, and then
Hmm.
talk about their coping mechanism, talking about
Yeah.
and that instigating issue, those
Yeah.
triggers, finding words in the vocabulary to help yourself express what's happening is just as important,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
So it's she's
Absolutely.
wonderful. Tam did a really good job.
Yeah. Yeah. She really, she really enjoyed everything. All right. I got to clear some of this off so that I can get to the next post, which was reminding everybody it's our sixth annual Hope campaign. Okay. We just started last week the beginning of the annual Community Hope campaign. I cannot believe September is so close. And that, again, as I mentioned, is Aortic Disease Awareness Month. Look, this started off with September 19th being Aortic Dissection Awareness Day. Then it turned into a week. And then here at Aortic Hope, we realize dissections are so rare, but aortic disease is much more common than you think. And if we want to try to really help and propel better diagnosis of dissections and removing dissections, hopefully one day from the equation, or at least significantly reducing it, we got to take a step back. We got to go backwards, and we have to identify the people that might be potentially at risk for having a weakening in their aorta to begin with. So that is where the beginning of Aortic Disease Awareness Month came into play. And the reason it's a month is because there's way too much information to try to break it down in a day, way too much to do in a week. And, we do have a campaign on Facebook where everybody right now, we're making Facebook profile pictures for people. I've been inundated with over almost 150 people. I'm just kind of for whether it's I'm a survivor or I'm a caregiver. You can always email me at, at Karen@aortichope.org, Carin, and I'll put one together for you. And we're hoping that starting September, we turn this into a sea of red. And, whether it's our logo with the hearts or whether it's a personalized profile pic with your own face, that's one way to just bring an immediate impact. Like, why does everybody have this? What does this mean? But the other way is to participate in this campaign. And I think early on, we've been told people, celebrities, sports figures, people who have just their careers have ended because they found out they had a massive aneurysm and it was just a career ending situation for them. And we're told this is who you have something in common with. But in reality, I really feel that as a community, we have a lot more in common with our fellow members that are part of the support group, with our fellow members who are trying to run nonprofit organizations of their own, with other fellow caregivers and survivors, and also individuals that are grieving the loss of people. We're kind of in this community. And so we need to just really show the community what hope looks like. So it started off being called This Is What Hope Looks Like. And we had people hold signs, and it's turned into a little more sophisticated than that. So we will showcase this. It will come out on September 19th. Right now, we're collecting photos. I don't care what the photo is. Just don't make it medical. Please don't send me a photo where you have all your IV lines in your tubes. We cannot use that. I'm for it. We just can't. But I'd love a photo if you're doing a hobby, if you're fishing, if you're walking your dog, if you're just standing there with your physician, preferably holding our guide. That would be ideal, right? Or standing next to one of our patient awareness posters, or sitting in the car with the seatbelt cover. A photo of yourself playing with grandkids. I don't care what it is. Send us a couple would be great. I would love that. And by sending us the photo, you are acknowledging that you are okay with us using this on our social media platforms. So this is going to be very public. It's going to be part of the video. And I guarantee you other pages are going to take it and they're going to want to share it. So no one's ever compensated. We don't drive any income from this. This is, again, just a way of really letting everybody know that we are the face of aortic disease. You know what? It's so interesting. Somebody in the community, I'm not going to name names, even though this isn't horrible, took the profile picture that I created, and they showed it and they said, I don't have a face that people would easily identify with aortic disease, but I did have a dissection. I wrote back, I'm like, yes, your face is exactly what aortic disease is. It isn't, we don't want to stereotype with what we think someone with Marfan's or Loeys-Dietz or Ehlers-Danlos looks like, because for every person that is identified at having a connective tissue disorder, there's 5 of us that have no clue what it is. All of our faces represent aortic disease because it can happen to anyone, which is why we want everybody to think about their aorta and think about their family and try to identify if anybody is at risk, because it can happen to anyone of any age. That's the problem with this. So we are all part of this community, and we're all going to show that video of what hope looks like. Send your photos into info@aortichope.org and just put the word hope in the subject line, and there's a lot that are coming in. But we have, I think if we said until September 14th, I think that'll be enough time to put it together. But if you wanted to see what last year's looked like, that was the link right there. And it was very wonderful and emotional and great. So if you want, check it out. Okay. Saturday was a reminder. We have our Saturday Survivor Series. Look, if you really want to make an impact, and many, many people always say to me, what can I do? I want to help. Of course, number 1, like and share our information. But number 2, be part of the Survivor Series. I don't care if you're a survivor or you're a caregiver or you've lost a loved one. Really be the shining star in someone else's life by sharing your story. People are going to learn. They're going to become educated on your experience. Everybody's experience has different nuances and different information. It's going to be very validating for someone else to listen or read your story. And it's going to be so therapeutic for you. I promise. I promise. You can do it live like I am now. So you can take questions. You can do a pre-recorded video and you can submit it in writing. We don't change any context. I don't care if you want to do a costume change. If your pet walks across the screen, that's even better. Showing the human side of all of this. So consider it. It's very simple. Just fill out the form, which is giving us permission. And it's basically like a media release. And we would love to feature your story today. So fill out the form, and we will be in touch. Somehow, we missed a Sunday post. That's okay. Things happen. It happens. It's okay. That's right. So this is what we've got still coming up. We have a hangout this week on Thursday. Hangouts are, in order to get into a hangout, you have to fill out the registration form for a support group meeting. But then you'll be notified every support group meeting. I think we're up to having 6 now. 6, 7, 8, 8, sometimes 9 support group meetings. But the hangouts are not. They're not heavy like that. They're supposed to be lighthearted and just as if a group of people were hanging out in Panera, sipping on some drinks, right? Hangouts, a lot of fun. So if you're looking for something that's going to be more in tune with disease elements, then join a support group meeting. We have Qigong every single Sunday at 12:30. That's led by Kevin Songer. He's also a community member. And then, of course, we always do a weekend review on Mondays, but we have our last support group meeting of the month, which happens the last Wednesday of every month. I'm actually going to be leading this because our fearless leader of that group, Tim O'Reilly, has temporarily stepped down. And beginning in September, our aortic kitchen, our aortic chef, Rob Seltzer, will be taking over moderating the last support group meeting of the month. So I will be your host. I'm not sure why it says 10 p.m. That is an error that will be fixed immediately. It is 7 p.m. Eastern. That is a mistake. That is a boo-boo. And then on the 29th is our last hangout of this month. I am still getting everything together for September because there's a lot to get together, but I will have this calendar up for September very, 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 very soon. So other than the boo-boo of Wednesday next week, which is 7 p.m.
And also, we
things.
have to add John's this Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, we have to add John this Thursday and maybe even next Thursday. Who knows? But we know this Thursday.
And also, hi, Velda.
Hey, Velda. Thanks for joining. And Velda, she moderates a support group for our Canadian friends. First Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. They do a great job over there, too. So if you're a Canadian or you have thoughts about Canadian stuff, it's better if you're Canadian. You should join their support group. And they just recently launched the Think Aorta campaign in Canada, which was very exciting. I think we're up to 12 countries now. We're probably looking to bring on at least 2 more soon. So that's a growing campaign. All right. So that's all I got. I'm going to go take my hands, going to soak them. But thank you to Tom and Velda and Christina for hanging out with me. Listen to me vent and gripe. And you missed, now the sun's shining, but there were some really loud thunder booms going on to my left during this show. I'm surprised I didn't jump because it got really dark and then it boomed. But now it's really pretty. Not that I can go outside because I am like a vampire and I will spontaneously combust if I go outside. All right, Joshua, that's all I got. So everybody, don't forget to click like. Please click subscribe, click the bell, because I'm telling you, you don't want to miss these fun events coming up in September. It is for a month of education. We are going to do it in an easy to understand way, sprinkled in with contests, sprinkled in with giveaways, sprinkled in with fun and interviews and just a lot of good times. So you don't want to miss any of that. And you want to click that bell and share this because I'm sure someone else will find something that we've shared today very interesting and educational and informative. So I will see you guys all next Monday at 3 p.m. and have a great rest of your week. Take care. See ya.